Here we are over the Colorado River. I need you to tell me exactly where you need me to go.
Yeah, it's just right down there below that ridge.
So I'm going to do an orbit. I'm going to lose a little bit of altitude here.
Okay.
And do an orbit over the location.
Singapore Assistant Equity Flight 19, climbing 95.
And Eagle 49's over the little Colorado River.
Right there. We need to descend down below that ridge line in order to see directly across into the canyon.
I can't do that. The FAA has restricted all flight below the canyon rim. Not allowed to descend down there.
So you're telling me that the FAA, the government, will not allow us to go down there?
Absolutely not.
When we were here before, the guys that were going over, we thought they were prepared. We really didn't know what it would take at the time. And they went down about 800 feet, and they ended up getting stuck.
800 feet, that's only about, what, halfway down to where you think the cave is?
It's about halfway, yeah. Going over the side, it just seems impossible. You can't see the cave from the bottom, nor can you see it from the top. It's at an in-between level. It's completely obscured.
That newspaper article is very compelling from 1909. Something happened here in the Grand Canyon. I think the government is hiding something. The fact that a plane flew by when you guys were down here rappelling tells me that they had to have been watching you. They're guarding something. The oral stories of the Zuni and other tribes around the Grand Canyon clearly suggest that some people came here, that there are many caves here, but there may be caves that housed ancient cultures and maybe artifacts, possibly the Egyptians. So I'm convinced that there is something here.
Gigantic proportions, or giants. It also mentions the discovery of an enormous underground citadel, which was discovered in the Marble Canyon region of the Grand Canyon by a pair of Smithsonian-funded archaeologists, S.A. Jordan and G.E. Kincaid, who came upon it while rafting on the Colorado River in a wooden boat. Keep in mind that they did not claim to be employees of the Smithsonian, but freelance contractors, which was not uncommon for the Smithsonian to have. The alleged entrance to the city was at the end of a tunnel that stretched almost a mile underground, and they didn't just claim to discover ancient artifacts or treasure, but a lost Egyptian civilization deep beneath the Grand Canyon. The Smithsonian has denied the validity of the claims published in 1909, but as I've pointed out in a previous video that I made regarding dozens of other independent discoveries of giant skeletons discovered in America during the early 20th and 19th century, none of these finds published in papers such as the New York Times can be accounted for either. So there's plenty of precedent for the Smithsonian losing artifacts or information about discoveries that do not fit in with currently accepted dogma about the history of America and its interaction with other ancient civilizations. But why would the Smithsonian cover up something like this? Because it would change the entire history of North America as we know it, and would not align with how history was written up in the textbooks.
Perhaps the Smithsonian Institution is more interested in maintaining the status quo than rocking the boat with astonishing new discoveries that overturn previously accepted academic teachings. Historian and linguist Carl Hart, editor of World Explorer, then obtained a hiker's map of the Grand Canyon from a bookstore in Chicago. Poring over the map, they were amazed to see that much of the area on the north side of the canyon has Egyptian names. The area around 94 Mile Creek and Trinity Creek had areas, rock formations apparently, with names like Tower of Set, Tower of Ra, Horus Temple, Osiris Temple, and Isis Temple.
It's a story that was featured on the front page of the April 5th, 1909 edition of the Arizona Gazette, which talked about the discovery of an underground city that was found in the Marble Canyon region of the Grand Canyon. You know, I don't do conspiracy theories all that often, but this story is so interesting. So according to the news article, an explorer named G.E. Kincaid, who was funded by the Smithsonian, was going down the Colorado River alone, and in his words, he was looking for minerals minerals. And by minerals, I think he means gold, because gold mining was forbidden at the Grand Canyon at the time, so he couldn't just come out and say it. Anyway, Kincaid was looking for his minerals when he spotted stains in the rock formation about 2,000 feet above the riverbed, approximately 40 miles upriver from Crystal Canyon. There he said he saw a cave entrance that is 1,486 feet down from a cliff. The cave was hard to spot and extremely hard to get to, but Kincaid went in because, you know, he's got to have his minerals. Anyway, he went in and found something remarkable and history-changing. Kincaid then collected some of the items he discovered, shipped them back to the Smithsonian back in DC, and shortly after, 30 to 40 archaeologists were sent by the Smithsonian and led by Professor S.A. Jordan. Further explorations were made, and according to Kincaid, they found long passageways connecting hundreds of rooms. The rooms were about the size of ordinary living rooms of today, though some are 30 by 40 feet square. These are entered by oval-shaped doors and are ventilated by round air spaces through the walls into the passages. The walls were about 3 feet 6 inches in thickness, and inside the rooms were all sorts of artifacts such as weapons, copper instruments, and here is where it gets mind-blowing. Some of the rooms contained artifacts as described in the article as, quote, doubtless had their origin in the Orient, including a big Buddha statue sitting cross-legged with a lotus flower or lily in each hand. In other rooms, ancient Egyptian artifacts were found, such as vases or urns and cups of copper and gold. Carved on all the urns over doorways and tablets of stone are mysterious hieroglyphics, and in one of the largest chambers, mummies were discovered. Some of the mummies were covered with clay and all were wrapped in a bark fabric.
You know, the fact that the Phoenix Gazette denies the whole story, said it was just a hoax, is a little odd. Now, of course, it could just be a hoax, I suppose. Maybe they just wrote it for a hoax. But there is tons of evidence, literally tons of evidence, that they're saying that because they don't want us to know. They were told not to publish it. And you know that that's going on. In many cases, the government is trying to hide things. And to this day, they're guarding the whole place. You can't get in there. Trust me, I know this. I was chased down by a Black Hawk helicopter because I went in looking around in one of these places. And all these sacred places are behind military fences, or they're in parks where they're monitored and you can't get in there. Let me read you some more here. Over this area is restricted airspace. The ground is illegal and treacherous to navigate. And all official reports about this form of Smithsonian and elsewhere have been censored, modified, nullified, or retracted. This still did not stop people from attempting to visit the parts of the canyon, or this part of the canyon. Many have been arrested. Some have died attempting to climb these sacred sites over the years. It has gotten to the point where the government feels it must have armed FBI agents guarding inside the entrance to the cave that is now known as Kincaid's Cave. There is an artifact that somebody claims they have found. This Egyptian golden tablet was discovered in the depths of the Tunnel City, led by way of Kincaid's Cave. This tablet serves as a history book, including names that began with King Zaphenath coming to the Azatlan. That's where we get the word Aztec. It's supposed to come from that word. And there's a lot of verification for this. And information about his descendants, King Kayan, coming to the Grand Canyon. These artifacts are also from Kincaid's Cave. They are pure gold. And they are some of the only historical artifacts from the Grand Canyon on display at the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, D.C. This obviously isn't all they found. Some of them were photographed and documented, but who knows what wasn't? What is the reason why other relics that have been found here are not on display? Well, we know the reason for that. So, here is the 1847 Disternal Treaty Map of Mexico and the American West. See how far north the Aztec area went. Used to be part of Mexico. Look at that Lake Cahula. The water was much higher. Did you know that all the monuments in the Grand Canyon are named after ancient pharaohs? This famous canyon in Arizona is actually an ancient array of pyramids. And the sites align with the same stars that the pyramids of Giza align with. The constellations of Orion. Now, we've talked about that over there in Egypt. The Nile River is to represent the Milky Way. And the Great Pyramids on one side of the river represent the three stars in Orion's belt. And we find this particular pattern in every culture. And as I said, if you saw Chrysler Building in New York and you saw a Chrysler Building in Chicago or Europe, you'd say there was a one world government. They had travel, they had communication around the world. Well, these great pyramids and this information, the religious teachings, are all around the world in every nation on the face of the earth. And there's a reason for that, because the ancient ones lived beyond 12,000 years ago, and they were an ancient, technologically advanced civilization. Many Egyptian relics that were discovered in Kincaid's Cave, one of which was a pure gold artifact for the Egyptian king named Kian. Kian, or Kayan, the relic is holding lotus flowers in both hands, native to Egypt. This was found in the first cross tunnel of the cave, which was in the exact same location as the shrines in the Valley of the Kings, tunnel cities. Before the kings of ancient Egypt began to build pyramids and above ground cities, it was found that Kayan was a descendant of King Zaphenath in Egypt, who may have been Joseph in the Bible. This Egyptian golden tablet was also discovered in the depths of this tunnel city, led by way of Kincaid's Cave. This tablet serves as a history book, including names that began with King Zaphenath coming to Azatlan, and information about his descendant, King Kayan, coming to the Grand Canyon. Well, guys, this guy's story is very interesting, but how could we believe it? Well, there's more testimony. They've erased this guy's name, so we don't know if he really existed, but he was in the newspaper, but it was a hoax. Well, there is some confirmation. Of course, he was hired by a guy named Powell. You ever heard of Lake Powell? Well, he was sent down there by the Smithsonian Institute to investigate all of this and sent by the government. So he was a real person, and he gives his own testimony. We have this. And this is what he said. I don't know why most people don't even pay attention to all of the testimony. They read some story somewhere where they say, oh, that was discredited, so we don't believe in that. Okay. But what about his superior and many others? Let's take a look at what they have to say. Powell says, in this canyon, great numbers of man-made caves are hollowed out. I first walked down a gorge to the left of a cliff and climbed to a bench of the cliff. There was a trail on the cliff bench that was deeply worn into the rock formation. Where the trail crossed some gulches, some steps had been cut. I could see no evidence that the trail had been traveled in a long time. I returned to our camp about 3 p.m. and the men had found more Egyptian hieroglyphs on the cliff walls near the cave. We explored the cave and found this shrine and other artifacts. That evening, I sent a team member to notify the Smithsonian Institute of our discovery. Oh, isn't that funny? The Smithsonian doesn't have any record of this. We continued to survey the canyon, and we discovered more Egyptian tunnel cities. I estimated in my report that I think upwards of 50,000 Egyptians had inhabited the Grand Canyon at one time. All right, so, is there, where we get the story of Zaphanath, right? In this descendant of Joseph of the Bible who came to America. Well, look on your screen there. You'll see a guy. His name is Burroughs. Russell E. Burroughs. Huh? Very interesting name for a guy burrowing in the ground. But this guy claimed to find some artifacts. And there's a lot of controversy about this. But he found some stones and some ancient artifacts and some writings. And that's where some people say the story got started. Well, of course, some archaeologists and scientists have debunked him too, right? But the pesky little problem of all of these archaeological sites that have been found that keep adding more credence to every one of the other ones. And they all seem to dovetail and prove that something's going on. But take a look at what this guy has to say and what he found. This artifact that was removed from Burroughs Cave in Illinois, the artifact was identified as an artifact for King Zaphanath, who was Joseph in the Bible. The direction of the boat on King Zaphanath's crown is coming to Azatlan of Ophir, and it's now the United States. Wow. King Zaphanath Paneah ruled Egypt from the temple of Ammon at Avaris, Egypt for 48 years. King Zaphanath recorded 12 trips to Azatlan of Ophir. The Smithsonian archaeologists are aware of this information. You could say that somebody just makes this stuff up, They spend their whole lives trying to forge documents somewhere that they found under the ground or whatever. And it could happen, but this stuff doesn't look like forgery to most people. The sun of the right-hand symbol is on the bottom side of the copper artifact. Then the box above the symbol is the Hebrew symbol for the Ark of the Covenant. This is a strong indication that Zaphanath, or Joseph, ruled Egypt according to the Ten Commandments in the Bible. The sun of the right symbol on the right bottom corner is a Semitic symbol. The three diamonds are Egyptian symbols for the greatest wealth. This artifact is for King Zaphanath, the ruler of Egypt, who came to North America in 1744 BC. Then on the top is the symbol for Egypt. And then the umbrella shape means the umbrella empire of Egypt established by King Zaphanath. King Zaphanath wrote that he found another place for Egyptians to farm and mine when he was 36 years old. This date would be 1744 BC. Each Egyptian ruler had a separate hieroglyph symbol. This is the hieroglyph that King Zaphanath chose for himself, which was Shu, the crocodile. The same hieroglyph was found at Aravis, Egypt for King Zaphanath.
Fam, you from Africa, right? All black people from Africa, right? I know, fam. I know, fam. You from the oldest civilization, right? The oldest land, right? Wouldn't the oldest land have the oldest pyramids? oldest structures. Man, we've been doing this a long time. Drop Nation been showing you a long time that this is Africa, my naga. This is ancient Egypt, my naga. Remember, Egypt is a Greek word, eptos, eptos. We're just talking bondage. But the bondage already happened right here with Atlantis. And what happened after the sinking of Atlantis? What did Thoth say in the Emerald Tablets? I hopped in the ship with the dweller and went to the land of the hairy barbarian. Where's Barbaria? Look at the maps. Where's Barbaria? Now you're talking Africa, right? Hey, love to Soul Bacon, man. Got my noodle bacon on IG, man. I appreciate you, bro, for this one, man. And love to the bro, Karen Mayo. Been setting it off. Let's go. Ancient American pyramids. America is not the new world. It is really the old world. They just found you here, my naga. They just found you here. How they gonna tell you from somewhere else? They just found you here in the old world with their oldest pyramids. Some of the oldest known civilizations began in the Americas. As many of us unknowingly connected to these lands and civilizations in more ways than we can imagine. Not only not using the excerpts to argue whether the oldest American civilization was in the where? Yucatan. We're talking Moshe, Meshi, Mexico, Moses, tribes of Moses, Moshe, Meshi, Mexico. Let's go. The oldest civilizations in the Yucatan, but rather showing it is known that there are civilizations in the Americas which predate ancient civilization in other parts of the world. That the oldest civilization was in the Yucatan in Central America. The oldest civilization is in America. The oldest civilization is in America. They just found you here. It seems that Egypt was first peopled by immigrants from the Yucatan. Just like Thoth said, I left this land here, hopped in the ship with the dweller, set up the halls of Amenti in the land of the barbarians. Barbaria is in North Africa. The Mayans manufactured a cement that was the same material as that of ancient Egypt. The art of both countries, as displayed in their ceramics and architecture, is of the same school. Excerpts from the prehistoric man, the human race, and its dispersions. The Kansas City Journal, Monday, October 12, 1896. We got to go back to the 1800s for you to know that the oldest civilization is in America. Found info from Karen Mayo. I mean, I told you, man. Karen Mayo got the drop, and the drop never stopped, man. Make sure you got the drop. You know what I mean? Go dig on all the drop from the bro Karen Mayo, especially this video right here, YouTube video, part 6. Untold Ancient American Truth, Mayan Civilizers, Egypt and America, Augustus Laplandian. Because Karen Mayo been dropping it, and Soul Bacon is still baking our noodle bone. And I had to go get this drop, man. Kansas City Journal, all right? 1896, man. What does it say? What does it say? What does it say? After correlating all data, right, that has been made public to the present time, the conclusion is unavoidable that the oldest civilization was in Yucatan and Central America. Future discoveries may change this conclusion. It seems that Egypt was first peopled by immigrants from the Yucatan. Space will allow only a few facts that clearly indicate the truth of this assertion. Pyramids. The pyramids of the Yucatan are some of them much larger than found in Egypt. That of Cheops not accepted. So even the great pyramids, I don't care what you're talking about over there, the larger pyramids are in the Yucatan. Much larger, all right? Much larger than Egypt. Second, the pyramids of Egypt bear structural evidences of having been modeled on those of Yucatan. Since they're older, who copy who? Thoth set up, Tahuti set up new pyramids over there, but we over there hanging on those like that's the oldest civilization, right? Notably of the one of Coloma, which covers 23 acres. Third, the early Egyptians and the Mayans of the Yucatan had the same system of reckoning time, but the Mayans developed a system that was far superior. This is in the 1800s. This is not your modern public school knowledge trying to confuse you. You ain't supposed to be reading this. This is in the 1800s, in which antedates or predates that of Egypt. So the time system, the system of reckoning time, is not only far superior, but it predates that of what we call Egypt today. Fourth, the Mayans manufactured a cement that was the same material as that of ancient Egypt. Who's copying who? Where's Atlantis? Atlantis is right here in America. Fifth, the architecture of the Yucatan is of the same general type of the ancient Egypt. It is a finer and seems to have been modeled, the model that the Egyptians attempted to imitate. Body bag. Sixth, the art of both countries as displayed in their ceramics and architecture is of the same school, that of the Yucatan being much more highly developed. Other facts could be easily given, but let these for the present suffice. Managa, they found you in America, where their oldest civilization is, and I love Africa. You just gotta know that you in Africa, you dig? What's an American? Oh, the Aboriginal? Oh, the copper colored races that were just found here by the Europeans. They don't say they brought these copper colored races here in boats. It says we just found them here. These are the same copper colored people of the original and oldest civilization. The oldest civilization was in the Yucatan in Central America. In America, they found the copper colored races.